Why does God have to go through this tedious work of making people commit huge genocide? Because some of the stories that are in the Bible are absolutely absurd, particularly most of the stories because of the genocide that they committed. And for instance, the story of Elijah killing 42 children because they mocked him that he had a bald head. So we see stories of group of people, of a little clannish people, and to the extent that the religion was be able to be, somebody took this religion, universalize it, and that's what we have today. So this question, this little literature, why do you still adhere to it? Why do you think it's more plausible than the thousands of religions?
Very, very good. You know that thing you are talking to me right now. You are telling me the understanding, the philosophy of Africa-centric philosophers, these new Negro, African, black philosophers who are trying to rationalize why Africans must go back to their own God, that they have their own God and their own faith, and that Christianity is a religion of colonization and it's a religion of oppression, and they're the ones who brought slavery, and Christianity was killing. The Bible, there are killings in the Bible and all that. It is a very myopic, simplistic understanding of what we call dilettante. People who are not professional, amateurs. It's a very amateuric approach to understanding the Bible and the God of the Bible. Now, let me now give you a wider concept of the Bible and the God of the Bible and the God of the Jews. Now, when you talk about the thief people or Efik people or Yoruba people or Igbo people, every nation, every nationality, every tribe is got their own understanding of God and how God helped them, how they came across. For example, in Yoruba land, for example, the Yorubas believe that life on earth started in Ife. And that, they have a whole theory, Oduduwa brought some piece of land, or that, or God came from heaven, all kind of, things they have that they are more like what do you call it, folklores, like stories, like, just legends. So, but why should God go through that pain of revealing himself through the Jewish people? First of all, if we are to go by the account of the Bible, God existed before the Jewish people. And God related with man before the Jewish people. The Jewish people and God's choice of the Jewish people was an attempt by God to restore the general understanding and relationship that was already there but was lost. It is because man lost relationship with God, and when man went his own way, and all nations went their own way, including the descendants of the Jews, everybody went astray. That is the same thing, the same story you are telling right now about the thief, is it thief and the any other ethnic group, is the same kind of story that the descendants of the Jewish people were also telling. They also used to believe, everybody have their own unique stories. But stories like that also, they were just like that. So the Jewish people were never, they didn't come up with an idea of this God. And they too were paganistic. What you just described now was paganism or polytheism. That's what the Europeans and modern scientists like to call paganism now. They don't want to call it paganism, but they call it polytheist. Huh? Polytheism, right? Not monotheism, but polytheism. But I call it rather the Gentiles or paganism. Everybody was a Gentile. Everybody was a pagan, which means they were believing in different gods. So this old world that we have right now was out of order. When man left the Tower of Babel and they were scattered by languages, every language went and formed a nation, and everyone had their own God and their own ways of relating to God. So it was a whole mess up system. So, for example, if God had not brought order into the whole process through Abraham, can you imagine how many nations we have on the earth? Then can you imagine how many not just nations, tribes? In Nigeria alone, we have over 250 tribes. Then many other countries have over 100 tribes. There will be thousands and thousands of different gods, millions of them. It will just be chaos. And that then will even the more distort the mind of man from getting to know where he comes from. Because if we agree that we are all man, there must be a unifying factor. Because, okay, what then makes us man? What then unites us? What then makes us to be the same? What we say men are equal? So if everybody has his own God, then men cannot be equal. Also then we don't have the same origin. So how do we trace our origin? And if we are all men, white, black, any nationality, if we are all human, then it has to be traced to one single or singular origin. And if we believe that this is a higher intelligence that created us, so it has to be traced back to that intelligence. So that intelligence that we call God now decided to reintroduce himself to the whole earth. Now, Jewish people were practicing the same thing, just like the Africans. God is not a Jewish God.
Okay.
God is not a Jewish God. And this God of the Bible doesn't belong to the Jewish people. Only God had to start with somewhere, with somebody, or with a group of people. Why? Why is that necessary? Because the order of creation says that every big thing starts small. And it is only small things that become big. Things don't just start from nowhere. Everything must have an origin. But why is that important? It's because there must be process in reality. The idea is not just the idea of product or existence or matter. There must be process in matter. So because there must be process, the need for process in matter. For example, why is it that God didn't just say, let there be trees and we have trees? No, he had to go through the process of forming the seed. And he had to go through the process of making the seed go to the soil. Why? Because of sustenance. Not just sustenance by the trees themselves to be sustained or for God to maintain it, but because of sustenance for it to be easy for the man who is living on the earth to manage the seed and the trees. How will he manage it if he will not be able to study and there will be no predictability? There must be a process to it that man should be able to predict. There must be a process to everything on the earth that functions on the earth so that man will be able to do experiments, study, and be able to see the beginning to the end of it. That is how the earth was made to function. The earth is made to function in process. And because of the need for process, God introduced time and space. God introduced three things in Genesis. And the three things God introduced to make man understand process is time, space, and matter. And those three things that are necessary, that is why everything has to start from small to big. And that is why there must be a process to everything. So the need to go and get one person to start the process of reintroduction of humanity back to the source is what we say was started with the process of Abraham being called and having to leave his own tribe as well, where they were having,
They were actually practicing Zarathustraism.
Yes, but they were having different kind of gods as well. They were having, some of them were having different kind of gods. His own father was practicing the god of the moon, stars. And then the other people, the whole nation might be practicing something, just like Nigeria now. in Yoruba land. You might say, oh, you have Oduduwa, but somebody is practicing Ogun, Shango, the god of thunder, the god of the sun, the god of, that's everywhere. So now, he also was taken from his land, and he was taken now to be reintroduced back to the source of all men. Now, Abraham was not, God Almighty is not the God of Abraham. He is the God of all humans. But he was using Abraham as the process to reintroduce all humans back to the God of all humans. So that is a process thing. That is why the Jewish people were, actually, I will not agree to say that it is the Jewish people that were selected. That were selected to introduce God. I will rather use and apply the Quranic understanding better than the biblical understanding in this case. My own understanding of God introducing himself to man is not just connected to the Jews. The Jews is just one lane on one lineage of Abraham. But apart from the lineage of the Jews, there was the lineage of Ishmael. It was Abraham. So when you see, all the world, at the time of Abraham, even up to now, were still polytheistic, were still pagan, or Gentiles, where people were worshiping different gods, many gods. But they were not they didn't know. Everybody, why were they worshiping all those different gods? Because everybody could feel in their nature that there is somebody that created them, there is a need for them to reconnect. God saw through the need of all nations, of all little groups, attempting to find their source. So God decided to reach out to help them. Because some of them, in their attempts to reconnect, they call on God. Maybe God answered them. Maybe God helped them. He preserved them different ways. But then some of them will say it is the that story of the snake that you spoke. The Igbo people, there is, I think they call them Aroshuku. There is a tribe in Igbo land that also believe in similar story. They believe that it was a snake, long snake. It's called, that one is teeth is green snake, but their own is long snake. And the long snake is what preserved them and what God used to do their miracle as well. So, but all kind of different stories. Some people say it's snake. Some people say it's thunder. Some people say it's iron. Some people say it's... So God, to remove that confusion, God decided to introduce for the first time, through Abraham, a monotheistic understanding of God. Monotheist understanding of God, which is only one God. So when we talk about God and Christian God now, I am not in a hurry to say that is the Jewish God. No, I will say the God of Abraham. As far as I'm concerned, the God of Abraham is a monotheist God. And that monotheist God is the God that is the God that everybody is reconnected to, that immediately reintroduced himself, not just to the Jewish people. He actually started introducing himself to the Arab people. Through Ishmael, because Ishmael was born before Isaac. And actually Ishmael, the covenant, there was a covenant between God and Ishmael, before there was a covenant between God and Isaac. So that way it is to be able to deliver us from accusing God of being unfair. We cannot say God is unfair and God is only choosing Jewish people, because it's not true. It shows Abraham. And Abraham became the God of the Jewish people. And Abraham became the God of Ishmael, the Arab descents, the Asians. And Abraham became the God, the source of that. So it was parallel history. So as a result, right now, there are 3 monotheist religions in the world, and they are the biggest, which is also pointing to the fact that all that is proof that it is true, because the largest group of people, 2 billion Christians, 1.5 billion Muslims, and the Jews, all that put together is the biggest. That is like You know, almost 4 out of 7 billion in the world, almost 4 billion are belonging to people of Abraham descent. What does that mean? It means that the majority of humanity now associate themselves to connect to that same source, the God of Abraham. So I would rather say it's not a Jewish God, but it's the God of Abraham. Because it is parallel. It is a parallel story of the Jewish and of the Ishmael. And even though we were not seeing what happened to Ishmael later on in the Bible, but you know, Islam, we could say they are the continuation of that story. So I would say Abraham is a unique person that was chosen by God to return all men back to God, and not just the Jewish nation, but the Jewish nation, the Arab nation, and the nations of the earth through Christ Jesus now.
All right, it is actually an interesting narrative. As you said, as you were talking, I could relate because I actually read about the story of Ishmael and how the Arabs came to believe that, according to the Quran, they believe that the Ishmael is actually, since Ishmael is the first child, they believe so much in him. And then if you read continuously to the end of how his mother was sent packing out by Sarah, by the husband, you will see that before Abraham died, he blessed them. He blessed the two children.
Yes, and that is the problem. That is the problem that Christians have today. Christians today don't believe that we believe in the God of Abraham. That we, the Christians and Muslims, believe in the same God. That's a problem. Because we actually believe in the same God. And the reason why we believe in the same God is that this same God didn't appear to Abraham different. This God didn't appear to Ishmael differently and to Isaac differently. No. In fact, God didn't appear to Ishmael or Isaac. He appeared to their father. And their father is one person. And that their father gave birth, that same God that appeared to their father gave birth to two sons. It's just like me now. I gave birth to two sons. One here on this hand and this hand. And then you say, no, this other son, I am not the one who gave birth to him. No, but God made sure that Abraham never sent Ishmael away without blessing him. And Abraham demanded from God that God should bless his son and that God should enter a covenant with his son. Even though God was saying, I'm going to choose Isaac. I'm going to choose Isaac. The reason why I choose Isaac is not because I'm choosing the Jewish people. That's the mistake Christians are making today. We think that God has chosen the Jewish people over the Arab. No. The only reason why God chose Isaac is because God foreknew that the rest of the nations of the world, they will also need a source to be connected to Abraham. And that source has to come also from somewhere. So that source is Jesus. And God, because God knew that source, because the Jewish nation is just one nation. The Arab nation is just one nation. But God is interested in all these other groups that you are talking about. So because of that, God had planted a seed. That a seed will come out from Isaac. That's why he said, I chose him. It's because of the importance of all nations to God. God values all nations so much that he needed to create a source, a connection to Abraham, that knows the only God. Okay, Arab already have their own connection, Ishmael. Jews have their own connection, Isaac. But this other connection will be different from the Jewish connection. Even though biologically he came from the Jewish people, is Jesus, but God put his blood in Jesus so that the Jewish people cannot claim him. It goes to the extent that even the Jewish people had to reject him. Because for God, the need to save all other tribes and all other groups is not just as important as the need to save the Jews. It's not just as important as the need to save the Arabs, but it's even more important. For God, it's a more paramount question and a more paramount challenge to save the nations of the earth. That is why he said he was now choosing Isaac, so that through Isaac, all the nations of the earth will be saved. But he was actually seeing Jesus, because Jesus is that son through whom the whole earth was saved, not through Isaac, but through Jesus. So since he came through the lineage of Isaac, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, that is why God will actually endure the fact that the Jewish people have been removed from the place of priority. They've not been replaced, but they've been removed. That's why Paul was saying that it is like the Gentiles have been grafted in. And the branch that was the sole branch before. But that was before all nations were the great. Heaven was open to all nations. That was when the Jewish people were the main one and they could feel like they were in control. But once the bigger cloud of all nations of the earth, 80%, 90% of the earth was coming in, God will even go to the extent of allowing the Jews, the branch of the Jews, to be temporarily, sidelined, so that the bigger nations of the earth will be grafted into Abraham's roots and into God. Because what was primary concern of God is that all nations, not just Jewish nation. But if Christians and Muslims don't understand this, and even if Jewish people don't understand it, Bible will keep on being a source of division. Bible will keep on being a source of war. Bible will keep on being a source of conflict to the rest of the world. Now, when you've now started talking about Bible, killing in the Bible, and the killing all the Jebusites and the Canaanites and that is part of our history, because we come from that root. But that is not our history. It is the history of the Jewish people. But the history of us, not we Christians, but all nations of the earth, started with Jesus. It is through Jesus and through the times, and from the times of Jesus, that the nations of the earth took the center stage. And the Jewish people who were in the center stage in the Old Testament, they took the back seat. Because they would not join themselves to become one and with the nations of the earth. God would rather have all the nations of the earth to be leading. So our history is not contaminated with blood. Rather, the history of Christianity is such that God, our God, that brought us in and grafted us into this tree of Abraham, he was the one who shed his blood for the sake of forgiving us and redeeming us for all the blood that all our grandparents have shed in their various tribes and nationalities and nations. We needed forgiveness. And that forgiveness has to be on the level of a blood. Why? Because every tribe before Christ came were killing their children. So for you to accuse, or anybody, atheists, to accuse the Jewish people of killing people in the Bible, then they have to present to us arguments that there was any nation that killed less people. Because even the killings that you see in the Bible is not compared to the killings you see in the Quran. And in the killings you see in the Bible is not compared to the killings you see in the history of the Chinese people. All nations were bathing in blood. The one you see in the Bible is one of the most conservative ones. But that is even with the Jewish people. But even so, it is the same God. But everything was leading to the path and to the time when God could say, the days of ignorance are past. When God could say, every one of you nations that were killing yourself in blood, let me now send the blood of my son that will forgive and redeem all of you. So that all of you now, your past will be washed. Both you who are accusing the God of the Jews for killing people, you are killing people too. You too will be forgiven. And the Jews also who are killing other people, and people, they will be forgiven. And the people who are killed too, who are killing other people, will also be forgiven because of the blood of Jesus. It's a new era. It's a new dispensation. That's why Jesus portrayed a different image of God. Because nobody ever saw God. And he came to reveal the totality of God. But the God that we see in the New Testament, it is the reality of the then fallen nature of man and world in general. It is just because it was well documented and recorded that we could judge them. If every other tribe had also been documented like that, the judgment would have been horrible. But when Jesus came, the bloodshed stopped in Europe. When Jesus entered into China, the bloodshed stopped. When Jesus entered into Africa, the bloodshed stopped. He has shed his own blood one time so that all bloodshed will stop and all nations will be united to their maker through the Abraham, the man that was chosen by God. Hello everybody, DSA here. I would like us to spread this word together. Let the gospel of the kingdom conquer the world. We only need you to help us take 5 simple steps. What are these steps? 1, go ahead and like the video, please, if you have not yet done that. Number 2, we need you to subscribe to this channel. Have you yet subscribed? You not yet done it? Go do it now. Number 3, you need to press and click on that bell. You see the bell there? That will give you notification of every video that we do. Then the next thing you need to do, write your comments. Let's know what you think, good or bad. And then of course you have other platforms like Instagram, like Facebook. Share this video on your other platforms. All right? Let's win the world for Christ. Peace.